Hi, it's Steve Shikatans. It's June 12th, 2020. Yeah, it's hard to believe it's the year 2020. But today we're going to talk about attitude is everything. And I've got a few other things to talk about as well. But it's this one thing I want to talk about attitude. I attitude, that's a phrase. Attitude is everything. You've probably heard that before. I've got it here in my office. I've got it on the wall on both sides of me. I've got signs that say attitude is everything. I've had that for a long time in my office because it's so true. Your attitude will determine where you go in your life. And it is everything. It's absolutely everything. And I think one of the key things on your attitude is having an attitude of gratitude. Yeah, let's be grateful. What are you grateful for today? I mean, some people say, "Man, I'm not grateful for anything. My life is just everything." We're in the middle. We're kind of still on hopefully the downward swing, but we're still in the middle of this pandemic. We have some riots and stuff like that. But attitude is absolutely everything. Anyway, it's this that I want to talk to you about today. Being grateful is more than just saying, "Well, I'm happy to be alive." I mean, we all can probably say that if we stop and really think about it. But being grateful is more than that. It's a state of mind. It's something that you have to look inside yourself, and you got to say to yourself, "Look, what am I grateful for?" I mean, somebody I heard somebody say the other day, they were just grateful to wake up in the morning. And they were saying, "Well, I feel a little morbid about this, but I imagine that what if I didn't get up, and it's possible. I mean, a lot of people went to bed tonight and didn't wake up this morning. So maybe just being grateful that you're alive and that you woke up and you got up out of bed is important. Find things to be grateful for. Find things that you can look at and say, man, I'm really happy to be alive. I mean, think of little stuff that you're grateful for. Like I was able to lift my hand up. I mean, there's people that have no control over their physical body. I think a big one is that I am grateful that I have control over my thoughts. One of the things I've learned, and I've heard this over and over and over again. I mean, Earl Nightingale made this talk back in the 1950s, and it is called "The Greatest Secret in the World." And the greatest secret is that men become what they think about. So our thoughts control our attitudes, and they control the direction of our life. So the stuff that you think about, you're in complete control of, and that's something to be super grateful for. I mean, if you had no control over your own thoughts, that means that people can completely control you, and in a sense they do. I mean, our media. I mean, Hitler was a good example. He called it propaganda, and it was basically it was just imprints. It's kind of like we do that in advertising. We see these ads over and over and over again, and it creates a desire inside of us to do something. So it might be a toothpaste commercial, and people are having white teeth, and they smile, and if you use our toothpaste, you're going to be a happy person. You're going to have, you're going to do all this, and they play that over and over and over again, and it influences us, and we think, wow, I need to get that kind of toothpaste because it's going to change my life. And in reality, does the kind of toothpaste you use really change your life? I would say probably not. Now, if you don't use any kind of toothpaste ever, that could possibly change your life, because then you might not have any teeth left. I have a friend that he didn't brush his teeth pretty much ever his whole life, and and then he drank the wrong kinds of liquids, pop and beer and stuff like that, and didn't eat right, and so the result was he got to be my age, and he's lost his teeth. So we know this concept of attitude is everything. I just think that if you can get a hold of this and really think about this and be have an attitude of gratitude. I love that saying because there's so many things that we could say we're not grateful for today. You know, if you've lost your job or you've had some really tough times, you know, people have died, your loved ones. I'm not making any kind of light of that at all. I'm just saying that you still can control your thoughts. You don't have to stay there. You know, it's good to grieve. I mean, there's a grieving process. You know, when there's a loss that happens, there's a grieving process it takes time to go through, and you know, but you know, if someone close to you died and it's been 10 years and you're still down in the dumps about it, you know, you may want to really take a personal inventory inside of yourself and ask yourself some questions. You know what, and you know, at some point it's time to get on. I mean, in the Bible, David had one of his sons was killed, and he grieved for a day, and then he was you know, he didn't eat or anything for one day, and the next day he was back to himself, and that everyone thought it would take a long time, and it's not to say that that might be too short for you, but 10 years is definitely too long. So anyway, back to this attitude. So the other thing I want to talk to you about too is attitude is everything, and also I want to also say something that says in the New Testament. It says with God all things are possible, and what does that mean? Does that mean that anything is possible? Is that right? And especially in our wonderful human imagination, anything is possible. You can absolutely do anything in your own mind. I mean, it is all there, and so all things are possible. All means everything, and so it's really it's stop and really meditate on that and think about it. All things are possible. You know, it doesn't say all things are possible as long as you have this or this or this. You know, it just says all things are possible. That's it. So what an enlightenment. So can I be happy when things are seemingly falling apart around me? Yeah. Can I have the things that I want in my life? Yes, I can. Are all things possible? They are. Are and that can go on the negative side too. So again, your attitude can change that. And attitude is simply the way you think about things, your point of view, how you look at it. Those are the things that attitude, in my opinion, attitude is a mindset. It's your perception, and it really doesn't matter if things are going good or bad. I mean, that's even a mindset. And so your perception and the way you look at things is your attitude. So when you're in a state of an attitude of gratitude and you're grateful for your life and you're grateful for things that happen, man, I mean, then the all things that are possible, because that can go back both ways. It doesn't say all things are possible for the good. It can be all things are possible for the bad. You know, like Murphy's Law. It's like, man, everything. You know, when I'm working on a car and I'll drop a bolt on the ground. Murphy's Law says it goes directly 100% dead center right in the middle of where the engine is, and it's like you have to lift the car up to get to the bolt. That's Murphy's Law. So that's another thing of all things are possible. But I tend to see it from the positive side, and it's like, man, anything is possible on the positive side. I mean, it's possible that everything can go great today. You know, it's possible that I can be happy. You know, it can be the simple stuff too. But I think the biggest thing is it's all possible to have an attitude of gratitude. And, you know, I'm super grateful to be here. I'm super grateful to be able to make these talks and have these tools and equipment that I get to. Just grateful, you know, in the morning, if you really stop and think about it. Sometimes we just, I have a morning routine and I get up and just go to it, I do that simply because I want to stay in shape. So I don't want to neglect my physical body and this body that I have. I want to make sure that I take care of it. And exercise is really important in that. So for me it is. And so I make sure that I get up and do my exercises every morning. But usually I say a short prayer and think about a couple of things I'm grateful for. And I guess the big one there is that you get to wake up this morning, and that you get another shot at it. You know, I mean, when everything's I always when you get to the end of your rope, and everything seems like everything in you wants to give up and just let go, and just, you know, not try anymore, and just say, you know, this life is just terrible. I mean, some people get there and they end up in an insane asylum, you know, and I believe it or not, I do understand that. I do understand getting there. I've actually thought of that before. It's like, wow, there'd be so much less pressure. But my point of this is, when you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. You know, think this too shall pass. It will get better. You'll have, you know, sometimes usually at the point when everything in you wants to give up, it just seems like nothing is going right. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, Murphy's Law. And you just end up in a place where you're just like, man, I don't see any hope of anything ever changing or getting any better at all. That's the point when it's really important to hang on, because you're probably just a little ways, I mean, really close to a giant breakthrough, and things are going to turn. And you know, storms don't last forever. And so you're just hang on a little bit longer. Don't go off the deep end, and you'll see it turn around. And you know, the cool thing about life is that you can just start over, and you can change your attitude. If you do that inventory, if you find yourself in a really negative state, a bad attitude all the time, look at yourself and ask yourself, you know, you can change that. You can just say, you know what, I'm going to start looking at this different. I'm going to look at what I've been looking at. You know, what's interesting is, one person can have the same exact experience as another person, and all they see is opportunity, while the other person sees all they see is oppression and bad things, and you know, it's why me, and just go into a pity party, while the other person benefits from it. And I've seen that firsthand in my own life, is that sometimes you have to look for it. You know, the IRS audited me. What good could possibly come out of that? You know, especially since I made some mistakes. You know, I'm human. I mean, I made some tax mistakes, and I owed a lot of money. What good could possibly come out of that? And I don't have any extra money for that. So, you know, I just decided to start looking for the positive. You know, my cabin burned down with no insurance. You know, here's $200,000 house, you know, up there on the mountain, and what good could come out of that? You know, if you just ask the right questions, you know, the answers will come. So there's another thing in the Bible. I'm not a huge Bible thumper person, but I do know a few things. But there's this one, and I love this. There's this one thing in the Bible, and it says, ask. Yeah, that's all. They just ask. Sometimes, you know, little kids really have this down. They just ask. And if they don't get it, they ask a different way. And they just ask and ask and ask. And, you know, eventually, a lot of times, they can just wear down that parent, and they'll say, no, 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 no. And pretty soon, okay, we can do that. You know, it's just because they don't give up. And so be like a child in that way. Ask, and all things are possible. Attitude is everything. So have an attitude of gratitude. I think that's the most important attitude to have, is an attitude of gratitude. Man, count your blessings. You are so blessed to be here. And so hopefully this is a blessing to you, this talk, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.